Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that knows why ancient Romans never found algebra that interesting. X always equal 10. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Roman Roll from PSC. Roman Roll from PSC is a game in which players attempt to build various buildings in Rome, all while writing on a dry erase board where they are placing their buildings and kind of Tetrising the whole map. Each player takes a character board that has various information on it. You're going to go ahead and put out 8 different kinds of buildings in front of you, including a religious building, an army building, urban building, etc., etc. Sometimes more than one of each. You're going to go ahead and each take a dry erase marker with its own little eraser on the end. You're also going to go ahead and get a number of die depending on the number of players. You're going to put out a number of God's Favor cards as well as a number of Nero cards. Now, every round, the proconsul, the first player of that round, is going to roll a number of these dice, these red, blue, and yellow die. The die have specific actions on them, have specific things on them that will either represent the actions they want to take or resources they want to store or use. So what you're going to do is you're going to, on your turn, take one of them, and the next person takes one, the next person takes one, then it goes back, and that person takes another one, and another one. So you go around and back around, each taking one die at a time. You will have an option to take 2 at a time if you spend a senator. More on that later. Now, you also do have 2 meeples. You have an overseer and a forum. So the one is actually on the board. You're going to move him to locations on the board. The other one is on the different kinds of building cards, which is going to deny that building to other players, and then you'll be denied it to other players as well who have their meeples on those cards. Now, there are different actions you can take. First of all, you can construct. This will allow you to move your overseer to the appropriate location you want to build at. You can move it one location through one building, but then you need to spend fish resource in order to keep moving him. He's got to keep up his strength. But you get him to the proper location, and assuming you have enough of the resources on the die you've rolled or that you've got in storage, you can go ahead and draw essentially the shape of that building, the Tetris shape of that building, and then write the initials of that building inside there so everybody knows what that is. Now, some of the buildings you're building may have immediate effects that go into effect. Others may produce things if people build next to them. Some of them may just have some other weird effects that happen or conditions that may apply that say you can't build them somewhere, or you get bonuses if you build them in certain places. You can raise legions. Essentially, if you have military buildings, you can use those to create soldiers. Now, you have all these places to mark things on your board, and in the bottom right, you've got a place to mark soldiers. You just draw a line underneath it to show you've got a soldier there. And you can do the same thing with senators when you get senators. Sometimes if somebody builds a building next to you, you can get a senator, and you can go ahead and build, create the senators there. Later, as you spend them, you mark them off, but you show how many you've had over the course of the game. Now, you can spend your legions to go out and conquer these settlements that are in different places of the board, Hispania, Gaul, etc. There are roads, and spending stone, you can go ahead and create the roads, but you set up your legions, they can take that out and garrison them there by knocking them off or crossing them out on your board. And that is the conquer action. Building the roads, that is the expand action that you can do as well. Now, you can also tax those regions. You can levy a tax, which means you can gain the resources, the specific resources of those regions. You can also do trade actions. You can spend like 3 resources of what you got and trade that for another resource or for 3 coins. Coins, again, are tracked at the bottom the same way. Then you also have some free actions. You can store items. So if there's stuff you don't want to spend right now, you can write them down. So a brick, you write a B in your storage area, or jewelry, a J. Baskets are kind of wild. They can be whatever you want them to be. You can go ahead and mark certain areas on your advisor section in order to open up and unlock new things you can do. Typically, each advisor has 5 areas. You cross out those areas, and then you can open that up to bribe them for certain effects during the game. As I say, you can also have opportunities to spend senators. You can do that to draw 2 die at a time instead of just the 1 when you're drafting. You can also use them to be kind of an extra worker or an extra action on your die to give you an additional action there. Now, when you draw the religious building, when you create the religious building, you can draw God's favor cards, which give you specific bonuses when you play them, so you got to give it back after you play it, but that can come in handy. So you've got the 4 tracks at the bottom, point tracks. You've got gold, glory, legacy, and buildings. And you're kind of filling those in the same way. Whenever you hit the blue, highlighted blue section, which is different on the different player boards, then you go ahead and you draw a Nero card. Now, once all the Nero cards are taken, you finish the round. I think you do 1 more round, and then the game is over, and you tally up your points. Your points are going to come from, of course, all of these different things that we've been mentioning, from the different point tracks that you've got, from things that you've scored on the board. Some of the buildings you've built will give you points. You add up all those points together, and who's ever got the most points wins. Roman roll. So the game has got some interesting things going on. It's got this, like I say, Tetris aspect to it, where you're trying to build the actual buildings on Rome, and you're drawing them in and marking them. And the way the meeples move through the buildings, and they got to get through, and you can kind of box yourselves in corners. That's very interesting, and that's very well done. And then there's some geography there with the 7 hills of Rome. For instance, the religious building, the shrine, has to be built on a hill completely, but it's a small building. You get some bonuses if you build outside of the wall. I can't remember the name of the wall, but if you build it outside the wall, you'll get bonuses. So there's a lot of different cool things that happen here as far as that goes. Selecting the buildings and their different things they can do is interesting. The problem is, so when I first got this game and I was first looking it over, I kind of thought this was going to be a lighter game. I thought it was going to be a lighter game than what it ended up being. And frankly, I think it probably should have been a lighter game rather than what it was. The game itself it's not a heavy game, but it kind of felt heavier than it needed to be. It's one of these games that I think, first of all, it goes on longer than it needs to go on. It goes on a little bit longer than the fun it generates. And this is a game, too, where, man, if you're playing with people that suffer from AP, you're going to have a problem with this game, because they're trying to figure out which buildings they want to get, and then they're trying to figure out what actions they want to do, and what maybe advisors they want to bribe. And there's so much information on those character sheets, and there's so many possibilities that it's kind of a little overwhelming, particularly to people that suffer from AP and people that are really trying to maximize their chances there. There's a lot to consider, and that contributes to the game length. I think I really would have liked this game better if it had been a little bit simpler and it had been a little bit quicker. I don't think it's a bad game as it is. I think it's actually a pretty smart and clever game in a lot of ways, but again, I think maybe it's too clever by half. That's one thing I kind of pay attention to is a game got a lot of mechanics that just kind of serve to make the game longer and more bloated, that don't really make it more fun. And I think this is the problem here. The game it outlives it lasts longer than the fun it produces. And again, it's because of all those choices and all the AP, and it's for what it does for me. Now, there's some people out there that love the puzzle, right? That love Euro games, love the puzzle, and I don't poo-poo that at all. I think that's great, and I think some people will like this game on that level. For myself, my friends, this was not a particular hit with any of us. I mean, it's a game maybe I'll come back to it at a later time and try to explore, but honestly, it kind of fell flat. I'm going to say try it before you buy it. If you are somebody that likes the puzzle, you'll want to pick it up. Otherwise, maybe not. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I was recently in ancient Rome, and I walked into a bar, and I held up 2 fingers, and I said, 5 beers, please.
Now everybody.
Too much.
Everybody, wave goodbye. Wave goodbye to the people.
All right, see you next season.